asking, do you ever feel the same? Well, maybe we could change, turn the ship another way.
Hello and welcome to the Liz Experiment YouTube channel. This is the channel where I share field notes from my journey towards architecting my best life. And I am here again in Hoboken, New Jersey. For some of you who've seen a few of my previous videos and read the blog, I guess, some of this background will look familiar. I'll provide links to those other videos. But I'm here back on the East Coast after, 3 or 4 weeks on the West Coast. And I'm visiting friends here in Hoboken and in New York City for a few days before I head upstate to see my new nephew, who is, I think he's going to be a month old tomorrow. So it's very, very exciting. But before I do all that, I'm obviously here to share the things that I learned this week and what I worked on this week. So let's jump right into it. What did I learn this week during this Liz experiment of life? I call life. I really tuned into this one yesterday. So yesterday I had a ton of meetings and I got to hang out with friends in the city. And one of the things I really recognized that I've been doing, at least the past week, but maybe I'm getting to the point where I'm saying, hey, Liz, maybe you've been doing this for a lot longer than you think, is not really tuning in during my conversations and being present for them. So as an example, I had a call with with a business coach. It was more of a networking call, not so much a coaching session, but we were just getting to know each other. And I saw myself and noticed myself checking out mentally. And instead of listening to what she was saying and being present, I was thinking about what I should say next and how the call was going and how much time we had left on the clock. And I didn't feel good once I noticed myself doing that. I also had I was supposed to go to drinks with a friend in the city on Tuesday night, but I thought that the drinks was on Thursday night. So I completely stood my friend up. And I don't usually do that. I don't usually get dates and stuff mixed up. So I haven't been rooted in, I guess, life. And I don't know if that has to do with the travel, because I took the red eye back from the West Coast Monday to Tuesday morning, or if it's Mercury retrograde, if you know what I'm saying, or if it's all of that combined with, I think, this practice that we have as humans, at least in the Western culture, my culture, of wanting to put on a facade and wanting to say the right thing and do the right thing. And so constantly focusing on ourselves instead of being present in the moment. So I just noticed this one yesterday, so I didn't have too much that I worked on with it, but I will clue you guys in a little bit to what I worked on with that. The other thing I learned this week is that I don't have to finish everything and make everything perfect. And this is a big learning for me, and I know it's a big learning for a lot of us, again, in our perfection, put on a happy face culture, like do the right thing. So I'll get to that and how I worked with that this week in a few minutes. The other thing that happened to me this week is I remembered my tech roots. So for those of you who follow the blog, and there's a link on the YouTube channel page to the blog as well. But for those of you who follow the blog, you'll notice that I didn't put out a new post this week because I am currently in the process of upgrading my server. Very techie stuff. And I'll talk more about how that all plays out this week. Well, how it played out and how I worked on doing that this week. But basically, I reconnected with those tech roots this week. I used to be a Java programmer back when Java programmer was a thing. I don't even know if people say that anymore. Before I got into the whole designing and user experiences and talking to people game. So that was very cool. And then I also had this really super inspirational week, and I didn't really notice how much of my week was how inspired I felt, actually, until I was sitting down trying to put together notes for this video. But, after my conversation with the woman yesterday, where we very much talked about what I'm trying to do with these videos, with my blog, with my life journey, with my business partnership. Oh, wait, time out. Guys, I forgot to mention that today I'm recording this on July 18th, and it is my business partner and dear friend Diana Sonice's birthday. So I should be able to upload this video today. If you see it, be sure to reach out to her, wish her a happy birthday, tell her that it's okay that she's taking the day off for her birthday and to enjoy herself. Okay, back to the show. So I had this inspirational week where I talked with the woman yesterday. Her name is Kat, by the way. And we really just kind of dug into things. And as we were talking, just getting to know each other, a whole bunch of inspiration about the Liz experiment and living a location independent life and helping others, hopefully, to architect their best lives through what I'm learning, trying to architect my best life, really started to come to the surface. And so that was very, very cool lesson learned. And then I'm also reading this book called Everybody Writes by this woman. Her name is Anne Handley. And she writes beautifully, but it's a simple guide to being a better writer. And that doesn't mean writer like you have to write a novel. I think she's aiming it mostly at marketing content for whatever, but for your website, your business, not for whatever. But it was, so reading that book and having conversations with Kat and being in the gorge, flying back to the East Coast, it was just an uber, inspirational week. So let's talk about what did I work on with all of those lessons learned. I mentioned my first lessons learned was that I haven't been being present and listening and attentive in my conversations. So as I said, this was one I just really started noticing yesterday, and the guilt and the, oh God, I'm a bad person feeling really started to bubble up. And what I worked on with that was not resisting that feeling. I mean, that's the first thing we do, right? When you start to recognize that it's something was your bad, you start to say, wait a minute, that wasn't my bad. That was he or her bad, him or her, you get me, bad because of whatever. Or we start to say, no, I'm not a bad person. No, that's not what happened. No, I'm listening. Here are the examples of how I'm listening. But to be able to sit with, oh my God, like I'm really not listening, or I'm really checking out. And why am I doing that? And oh my God, I feel awful about that. That was a big part of what I worked on and am currently still working on. And then once I go into those feelings, I say, okay, that's what happened. So now let me work on listening. And as I start to listen and push the thoughts out of my head about like, what do I want to say next? And how do I make this conversation better? And I take those thoughts and I put them aside and I listen instead, and I am much calmer in general. So if you are an anxious person, which I think many of us in society are, I would recommend trying that exercise. Noticing you're not listening, pushing it aside and starting to listen, identifying with, okay, I'm not a good listener, but I want to be better. And I think you're going to see some pretty big results pretty quick. The other lesson learned that I mentioned was that I don't need to be perfect. And so my example of that and what I worked on this week was last Friday, actually, or Saturday, one of the days, I was in the gorge and I went for a hike, and I decided, it was so hot, but it was the only day I was going to get to go out and hike. And so I went out, and it was this lovely place. And there are pictures there will be pictures on my blog of it. And it was beautiful. And I'm like, I love hiking in the gorge. This is great. And I'm hiking uphill, and it's like 90 degrees and the sun is beating down at me. And about a mile into the hike, I'm looking at this hill that's not stopping going up. It's steeply going up. And I was just like, you know what? F it. I don't want to do this. I checked in with my gut. I was like, do I really need to finish this hike? No, Liz, you don't. And I just turned around and went home. And I didn't go home. I had some other appointments to go to, but it felt really good to just check in with myself, be honest with myself, and not have to feel like I finished it and so that I did it correctly. So that was a really cool practice. The third lesson learned that I mentioned, or lesson learned, what have you, was the techie part, right? Reconnecting with my techie roots. So I pay an awful lot to keep my blog up and running, but I recognize I don't need to pay an awful lot. So I did some research and I figured out how to not pay an awful lot. And I started reaching out to friends. Like, I'm in the tech industry, right? I started reaching out to friends. Hey, do you know somebody who can help me with moving my site from one server to another server so that it's cheaper? And I kept getting shut down, which is weird because I'm in the tech industry. And then one friend, my friend who's in Poland, actually, who I'm going to be house sitting for in a couple weeks, he was like, why don't you just do it yourself? And I'm like, oh, I get it, universe. I get what you're pulling here. So last Saturday, I sat down. I took the whole day to really kind of look at how to do it and figure it out. And I have a test server up and running. It's not finished yet, but I'm doing it, I'm doing this thing that I thought only like developers could do. And it's super empowering, and I feel super connected to my life. Like I'm not outsourcing something in my life because it's hard. I'm taking it in, I'm walking through it slowly, and I'm learning that, you know what, Liz, you're capable of this thing. So that made me feel really, really good. And the final thing that I mentioned was this inspiration that I've been having. So my discussion with Kat, and I'll provide a link to her website in the show notes. She's very cool. She gets it. She gets the idea of you taking responsibility for your life, and she helps you do that. I haven't worked with her, but just upon meeting her, I would recommend people who are solopreneurs and small businesses to reach out to her if you're looking for help, kind of honing in on yourself and your mission to make more money, ultimately. But anyway, we got started talking about the Liz experiment, and I told her how I'm pretty sure what I'm doing in living this architecting my best life thing will become a business somehow. And she was like, oh, well, how do you see it becoming a business? I'm like, well, maybe, eventually when I have all my lessons learned, or most of them or many of them, I'll do retreats and workshops where I help others break down how to architect their own best life, no matter where you're at. There are these structures of making your life better, and how do you hone them and make them and personalize them for you. And I said to her, I hate the word retreat though. And she asked me why. And I'm like, well, because I feel like treat. Anyway, I feel like retreats are so inauthentic. Not all of them, but many of them are, you go for a week and you get super inspired, and then you come back and you don't change. And I'm like, I don't want to put a product out there like that. And as I was telling her that, I recognized, like, wait, I'm a designer. I can design a retreat or a workshop or some sort of curriculum that's not inauthentic. So that was a big, like, my mind was blown. Because I recognized, okay, this is going to have to be for something for somebody who is open to actually making change in their life. And those are the type of people I want to be around. And so not only would I be coming up with a product that I believe in that helps others, but I would be attracting people that I want in my life. It's like, it was just a brilliant idea, because I was trying to think of ideas of how to attract more of those people in my life. And it all just came together when I was talking to Kat. So that inspiration was amazing. I'm doting on it because it was one of those moments where everything feels scattered. And then in that moment, everything feels like, oh, so that's the answer. So I'm super excited about that. We'll see where it goes in the future. But who knows? So that's it for this week. Next week, I'll be coming to you from my hometown of Fremont Center, New York, or somewhere in thereabouts that area. If you're in that area and you want to hang out, let me know. I'll be home. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and also, comment and let me know if my lessons learned help you, if you have lessons learned of your own in these regards. I really want to start a conversation on how we can architect better lives, because why not? We deserve it, right? Every single person on this planet deserves a better life. So let's try to make that happen. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to get these videos in your YouTube notification thing every week. And until next week, thanks for watching.
Video.